Oh, do we have a mixed bag for you today, folks? My name is John Crump, and this is Flying Rich, the flying one that flies. All right, guys. So we got some word from the Supreme Court on a bunch of cases that were up for consideration. They all filed for a writ of certiorari, which means somebody petitioned the Supreme Court.
Hold on. Is this breaking news 6-3 Supreme Court decision that changes the Second Amendment forever?
Okay, so basically what is going on is that a bunch of cases asked for, there's actually, I put 3 in the title, but there's actually more than 3. There's 4 gun-related cases that were up for consideration for a writ of certiorari, which means that the lawyers went to the Supreme Court and asked the Supreme Court to take up the case. We're going to jump into this first. The first one is the Illinois assault weapons ban, which I was looking for good news, but for that one, we don't have good news.
Oh, shoot.
The Supreme Court decided not to take up the Illinois assault weapons ban case.
Wow. That's a shocker.
Yeah. Basically, there was a couple that were, Alito wanted it, Thomas, he wanted it, but, excuse me, but the rest of the people on the court did not want it, so that is dead. We have to wait for another assault weapons ban case to go back to the Supreme Court. Now, with that said, there are several cases that have been remanded back down to the courts to decide whether, basically sent back down to the circuit courts and said, hey, you got to reconsider these cases. The first one is the other case I was looking forward to, and that is Antonyuk. Antonyuk is the case that was Antonyuk versus Hochul, which was challenging the Concealed Carry Improvement Act of New York. That has been, I was in Iceland. Basically, what was going on with, GVR, exactly. GVR, so it was sent back down, and Antonyuk's been sent back down, which means that the fight will continue at the Third Circuit, where it would be fought out and eventually make its way back up to the Supreme Court for future considerations of certiorari, which means I would rather them have granted a writ of cert, but that didn't happen. So it's better than it being denied straight out. So that is one case there.
So it could have been granted, denied, or sent back down.
GVR'd. Yeah, it was GVR'd. And that was in light of Rahimi, so they got to take a look at everything. And it's basically a redo. So the decision of the circuit court has been vacated in that. So it's basically a redo. There is another case, which is a felon in possession of a firearm, a non-violent felon in this case, and that is the range case. That was also GVR'd back down.
Whoa.
So now that has to go back in light of Rahimi. I'm not sure how.
I was going to say that's interesting because they just had the Rahimi and,
Yeah. Yeah, granted, as Ohio gun runner says, granted, vacated, remanded. So basically, it gets sent back down. The decision that the circuit court made is vacated. So it's basically a redo. Okay, so we got those two, and we have a third one, which is also known as I don't know, Daniels. That's what it is. I had to look down. I don't know. Daniels involved a Uh, it's out of a Fifth Circuit, and that involves whether you can ban someone from having guns if they use weed. That was also GVR'd back down, granted, vacated, remanded, back down, and they will decide on that because the decision has been vacated. So it's do-overs at the circuit court level. And as Ohio gun runner, I got to get Ohio gun runner on here because he's hitting it. Yep, they all reference Rahimi in there. So you got to follow the Rahimi thing. So basically, anytime that there's a decision that could potentially affect a case, they have to remand it back down.
All right. So my question, Antioch, was that the New York CCIA?
Antonyuk was the New York CCIA. Ivan Antonyuk is a Ukrainian citizen. Was a former Ukrainian citizen. He's a U.S. citizen, but a Ukrainian immigrant who basically had a CCW, but after the CCIA, his CCW was like drastically curtailed. So, yep.
So I don't understand why the Supreme Court didn't take Antioch, because that's after the Bruin decision. It seems like Antioch would be a no-brainer.
They referenced Rahimi, and Rahimi considered that you're allowed to disarm people temporarily. So I don't know, but I mean, I'm not really sure what they did that. What's going on? I do know that it's going to be a hard fault, but there was an injunction against the CCIA.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, and I got to talk to some of my lawyer friends, since the decision was vacated, whether that injunction goes back into effect or not.
Okay. Yeah. So that's always the difficult libretto of how these laws proceed when there's an injunction, suspension, something.
Yeah. So I don't know. There might be an injunction against it. It might not be an injunction against it.
And was it only a partial injunction?
It was a partial injunction, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But just as a reminder, the Illinois assault weapons ban case is not done yet because they still got to have the hearing on the merits. That was basically for the injunction, not the summary judgment or anything like that. So
so tyranny goes on for a couple more years. Got it. Ouch.
Yeah, basically. Everything has to work its way up. I'm sure the cases that were remanded back down.
So where's the good news, Crump?
I didn't say that was good news.
Ooh, okay. So basically, we need to take, the prior week's wins, be happy about that, and shut up about the rest.
I just said that.
You just finished typing it.
I know. So I'm sure all these gun cases will make it back up, including the Illinois assault weapons ban case. It could be that the Supreme Court just thought that it was not the right time to take it because the merits of the case have not been argued yet.
So to steal from somebody else, this is like Hard Truth Tuesday?
Yeah. Yeah. Ohio gun runner is exactly right.
All right, can you explain what an interlocutory case is?
Basically, the case has not been decided yet. They appealed the injunction.
Okay.
And
so the ball's still in motion is what's going on.
The argument for the merits of the case is still going on.
Oh.
And
that
makes sense. Until September. So the courts decided that they want to give the merits of the case a chance. So September will be argued. Hopefully we'll get a decision before the spring, whether it's good or bad. And then Either way, it's going to go back to the Supreme Court. But this time they will file for a writ of certiorari, not because of the injunction, but because of the summary judgment, whoever that goes for. Yeah, Thomas did write something interesting. I'm going to bring that up here. Give me 1 second here.
Boy, I am impressed at the level of smart in our audience. Not that I was never thought they were smart, but I'm like, wow, you guys are sharp.
Yeah, I mean they're on it, man. They're like hitting it before I can get to it. So give me one. All right. All right. You want to read the statement from Thomas really quick?
For sure, for sure.
All right. So Alito says he would have granted cert. And Thomas wrote a novel.
With regards to what case?
The Illinois assault weapons ban.
Okay.
Let me just get this up here.
I'm still pretty flabbergasted. I thought Antonyuk was a slam dunk.
No, I don't know.
Just because it's New York State shoving their thumb in the eye of the Supreme Court. And let me go full screen. The state of Illinois enacted a law that makes it a felony to possess what Illinois branded assault weapons, a term defined to include AR-15s. The AR-15 is the most popular semi-automatic rifle in America, and there is therefore undeniably in common use today. Heller v. Columbia. Let's see. Also see Garland Cargill, semi-automatic rifles, such as the AR-15 commonly available. Petitioners thought a preliminary injunction against the enforcement of law, arguing that the law violates their Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. The Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit rejected petitioners' request for a preliminary injunction, concluding that the AR-15 is not protected by the Second Amendment. According to the Seventh Circuit, the rifle selected by millions of Americans for self-defense and other lawful purposes does not even fall within the scope of the lawful the arms referred to by the Second Amendment. This court rightly wary of taking cases in an interlocutory posture, while in progress. But I hope we will consider the important issues presented by these petitions after the cases reach final judgment. We have never squarely addressed what types of weapons are arms protected by the Second Amendment. To be sure, we explained in the District of Columbia versus Heller that the Second Amendment's protection extends to prima facie to all instruments that constitute bearable arms, even those that were not in existence at the time of the founding. And we noted that the Second Amendment does not protect those weapons not typically possessed by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes. The historical tradition of prohibiting the carrying of dangerous and
stuff like that,
dangerous, unusual weapons, blah. But this minimal guidance is far from comprehensive framework for evaluating restrictions on types of weapons, and it leaves open essential questions such as what makes a weapon bearable or dangerous or unusual. Oof, I hate that paragraph. The Seventh Circuit decision illustrates why this court must provide more guidance on which weapons the Second Amendment covers by contorting what little guidance our precedents provide. The Seventh Circuit concluded that the Second Amendment does not protect militaristic weapons. It then tautologically defined militaristic weapons as those that may be reserved for military use. The Seventh Circuit court's contrived non-militaristic limitation on the arms protected by the Second Amendment seems unmoored from both text and history. And let me skip. Define fourth. The AR-15 is a civilian, not military weapon. No army in the world uses a service rifle that is only semi-automatic. In my view, Illinois' ban is highly suspect because it broadly prohibits common semi-automatic firearms used for lawful purposes. It is difficult to see why the Seventh Circuit Court could have concluded that the most widely owned semi-automatic rifles are not arms protected by the Second Amendment. These petitions arrived from preliminary injunction, and the Seventh Circuit stressed that its merits analysis was merely a preliminary look at the subject. But if the Seventh Circuit ultimately allows the Illinois ban to America's most common civilian rifle, we can and should review that decision once the cases reach a final judgment. The court must not permit the Seventh Circuit to relegate the Second Amendment to a second-class right.
And that's it. So basically, he's saying that he wants it. That is a shot across the bow of the Seventh Circuit, saying you better do what's right.
But when has such a admonition ever been effective?
It has been a lot.
It really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it has been a lot, and I'm sure.
Now, is this more of an ego thing, like I don't want my decision overturned by the Supreme Court, or is this more okay? I get what you're saying.
No, it's more of that they know that they're on the. They know they're called out.
They don't want their junk smacked in the door by the Supreme Court.
Correct. At least that's what I think. So we'll see how this goes. Judge McGlynn, I think he's going to rule for us, which would be good. But that is definitely a shot at the 7th, because once it goes to McGlynn, that's going to go up to the 7th, and then the SCOTUS.
So not necessarily bad news, but no good news today.
Yeah. It's
just we got to sit and spin on this crap a little bit longer. Which I guess, if you go by the rights delayed or rights denied, this is kind of a pain in the ass. But then again, I don't want my Supreme Court decisions delivered in under 30 minutes either. At least not by Kagan Sotomayor or Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, but it is what it is. That's basically it, guys. Just wanted to give you an update of everything that is going on.
Can I make an announcement? Two announcements. One, Flying Rich Firearms hit 15K overnight subscribers. I'm pretty excited. Two, Definition Knives is coming out. Right now we have a presence with 0 posts on Instagram. So Definition Knives is Dark and I are coming out with a knife company, and we'll be coming to you soon.
Yeah. So the vacated part is a win, but it's not a complete win. It's not what
it's a head nod. It's an acknowledgement. It's like, hey, we see an issue here.
Fix it. I mean, it's a win, but it's also a setback, which means it's going to take longer to get through the whole court system. I would rather the Supreme Court just take it, decide it, and kick it out. Yeah. So Easterbrook is in Woods. They're both hacks. Easterbrook especially is a hack in the 7th. So it definitely is a shot across the bow. But other than that, I think we're going to get out of here. I got to jump on a meeting in a couple of minutes here, 2 to be exact. And then Dark is finally coming over to get his couches.
Hey.
So I got to help him load it up.
And the Somali pirates returned your couches?
No, they're brand new. New ones. They're fitting on the original couches. That's a wild story, man. All right, guys. Thank you.